All right, the Edmonton Oilers. They're finally making moves for guys that I don't think absolutely sucked on the Vancouver Canucks years and years ago. Yeah, sorry, Riley Stillman, but I still don't hold you in high regard. The Oilers have just signed Andrew Mangiapane to a contract that I'm going to say is a pretty good one. 2 years by $3.6 million. That is a really nice contract for a guy that, when you compare it to the contracts the Oilers signed last year, you talk about Jeff Skinner, you talk about Victor Arvidsson, you talk about some of these extra guys that were supposed to, quote-unquote, round out the forward core. Those guys were kind of paid a little bit too much, and then you saw Arvidsson get traded earlier today. You saw Jeff Skinner, of course, have the impact that he did in the postseason. You saw Evander Kane get shipped out to Vancouver. This Oilers team was trying to free up some money, and this is a move that, even though they're getting on the books for $3.6 million for 2 years, I honestly do think Mangiapane is well beyond worth it. 29 years old, 5'10", 183, left-handed forward who can play all forward positions, drafted in the 6th round of the 2015 NHL Entry Draft by the Calgary Flames. Mangiapane was a menace, a guy who inevitably worked his way up in the Barrie Colts system to being one of the top OHL point producers during his time in the league. Inevitably, he found himself in the Stockton Heat, going up and down, playing some games with the Calgary Flames, and inevitably maxing out as a 55-point, 35-goal guy with that team in 2021-2022. Not to mention the fact that Mangiapane, he's got wheels, he's got an agitative quality to his game, he's tough to play against, he can really piss off opponents, he's kind of a shrimp in that respect, he goes out there and he bugs ya. He's a really effective player at doing that, all at 5'10", 183. Not the tallest guy in the world, but he's definitely stumpy, he's got some weight to him, and he's a very effective power forward speedster as a result. That 35-goal season was absolutely spectacular. The Calgary Flames were doing some really good work. Mangiapane then fixed himself up at 40 points in back-to-back years in Calgary. Then he went over to Washington and had scored 28 points in 81 games played this most recent season. Not as good as the seasons he has had in the past, but because his contract was expiring and because he ended up getting that extension with Edmonton, you're hoping that the Oilers are seeking for a redemption story here out of Mangiapane. And even if it's not a redemption story, even if he doesn't get back up to 40 points, this guy has had 14 goals this previous year, 14 the year before that, 17 before, and then 35, rounding out with 18 and 17. So this guy is a consistent 14-plus goal scorer. If he gets the games played, if he gets the right minutes, if he gets the right line mates, he can potentially creep up there into 20-goal territory, even though he had only done it once in his NHL career. Granted, the one time he did do it, he had scored 35 goals. Other times he was close, and let's say, for example, here, he only had 18 goals, but it was in 56 games played. Had he played the full year, he would have gotten to 20, no problem. Same thing with 2019-20, 17 goals and 68 games played over there. Mangiapane is a 20-goal scorer if everything goes well, but even if things just go okay, he could probably get 10 to 15 goals. And for the Oilers, at $3.6 million a year for only 2 years, I think that's pretty reasonable. You talk about guys who can play with speed. You talk about guys who can keep up with Connor McDavid. You talk about guys that round out that winger core. You know, Connor Brown's gone. He got a pretty big deal outside of Edmonton. Same thing with Corey Perry. Same thing with, goodness forbid, Cody Ceci, but he's not a forward. You get what I mean, though. Haha, just had to toss out Ceci's name in there one more time. For what it's worth, David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period went out there and posted this on Twitter, that Mangiapane's 2-year, $7.2 total million deal with Edmonton includes a full no-trade clause in the first year and a 5-team no-trade list in year 2. So, pretty reasonable trade protection here for Mangiapane. The agent getting these stipulations on the deal probably is what brought the AAV down. When you think about Mangiapane and the contract he was on earlier, I mean, with the Calgary Flames, he had signed on a $5.8 million AAV extension for 3 years. Then he got traded to Washington. That's kind of why they sent him away. They kind of felt it was a little bit too high. So the fact that Mangiapane took a bit of a discount, this is why. Full no-trade clause, 5-team no-trade list in year 2. This is security. He wants to be in Edmonton. He wants to be a part of an organization and be able to, let's just say, confirm more or less his spot on that team. Now, he doesn't have a no-move clause, which means that he is capable of getting sent down on waivers and over to Bakersfield, but of course that's not really relevant. He's not going to do that. They're not going to send him down to the AHL. But no trade clause, it is full in that first season. He is not going anywhere unless the Oilers ask him to waive. And in the second year, same thing, 5-team no-trade list. He does have some level of control as to where he is going to go. Bench Rates went out there and said this in the replies: if Mangiapane keeps this up, his trade will unlikely be considered. Because in the most recent season's worth of play, Mangiapane was providing roughly $6.9 million worth of value for the Washington Capitals, even though he had only scored 28 points in 81 games played. This happens to do with his face-off ability, his defensive ability, and his individual offense ability. I didn't realize that Mangiapane was a fairly good defensively minded forward, but looking at his defensive stats and his penalty kill contribution, you're starting to understand why the Washington Capitals had such a good roster like they did and what Mangiapane's role was on that team. $6.9 million in value is a lot, and ultimately, even though the majority of that value doesn't seem to have come strictly from his offense, there is still a good level of defensive quality to Mangiapane's game. If he's able to play that two-way stable style with his speed and his goal scoring, this could be a super versatile asset for the Edmonton Oilers that can be seen as a total steal if he gets upwards of 20 goals plus per season. And who knows, man? Who cares what happens in 2 years? If the Oilers want to keep that cup contending window open, they want to make the finals again, they want to have their rematch against Florida, more sandpaper-like guys like Mangiapane, guys that can walk the walk and talk the talk whilst providing some offensive flair to their game too. This is a super versatile player. I love this ad for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm a Canucks fan, so I hate the Oilers, of course, but I gotta give props where props are due. This is a great contract. I really, really like it. So for Andrew Mangiapane, he took a little bit of a discount considering the contract he was on last year. He is going over to Edmonton. He does have trade protection, which I do think bleeds into the contract being cheaper. But I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Mangiapane and his $3.6 million AAV deal with Edmonton? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.